This is For Home in Heaven, a podcast about living faithfully in the everyday with eternity in mind.
Welcome back to For Home in Heaven. I'm Mary, one of your hosts. I was going to say I'm your host, but there's two of us here.
And I'm Noah.
And today we want to talk about something talking about changing seasons. So right now we're kind of transitioning from summer to fall. And our two of our children are over there hanging out. It's actually the middle of the day that we're recording, so it's kind of miraculous. Anyway, so we want to talk about kind of how we prepare on the homestead and in the home for the changing seasons. Being right now that we're in kind of a transition period right now from summer to fall, there's things that we're doing, and we thought it'd be kind of cool to share with you guys kind of what we do each transition period, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think too, like with the idea that the podcast name is For Home in Heaven, the idea here is that like really throughout life, there are seasons. And so I was just having this conversation the other day about like going to a different specific church service. Like there's different seasons for everything. And so I think that really kind of aligning yourself to the actual seasons, like the fall, winter, summer, and spring. It also helps you to kind of better kind of align your life with the seasons that you go throughout your life. So I think there's a lot of benefit to being seasonal. I think that it helps to, again, kind of pull it back out to a wider, like life itself has seasons, not necessarily just tied to the 4 seasons throughout each and every year. So we felt like this was kind of cool where obviously practical piece of it, where there's a lot of stuff that we're doing right now in the homestead this fall, but also on the flip side, kind of tying it back to the actual seasons that we might have throughout life.
Right. But before we get started with our episode, we are going to open up with our harvest and droughts.
Yes.
Harvest and droughts. I mean,
already forgot about that.
Thought we'd get away with it. We're doing that one. Do you want to go first? Or want me to go first?
Harvest and droughts. Okay, so harvest. So I think since last time with work, I switched like positions at work a while ago. I think I might have mentioned that in the last episode. I can't remember because it has been a little bit. But I guess harvest and drought was I want to combine the two together, honestly. So we had 2 weeks of nearly back-to-back business travel. So that was, on the one hand, it was kind of nice, got a little bit of an escape, for a better way of putting it. But then at the same time, just really, really missed the family. So like I think the way that I tell everyone is that whenever you go, especially when you have a family, you go on a business trip, you're like, the first night is awesome. Like you're like, cool, I get to sleep in my own bed. I get to like have quiet. I can sleep in if I wanted to.
Eat whatever you want.
Eat whatever you
paid for.
Yeah. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, this sucks. Like I kind of miss being woken up at 6 a.m. And so I think on the one hand, there's the drought where like that, it was really difficult for I know for me anyway. I know Mary obviously was home with the kids. But then on the flip side, the harvest out of it is that like coming home just really made it that much more like intentional. So it kind of, I think it regrounds you a little bit. So you're like, okay, this is what I could have. Like this is what like could be happening in my life. And this is what I actually have. And it kind of, again, puts it into perspective. So I'd say combined harvest and drought where it was kind of tough being gone for 2 weeks, but on the flip side, it was also nice kind of being recentered and can come back to an awesome family.
Yes. Well, my harvest and drought, let's think. The drought right now is our 4 to 5 month old is in her sleep regression right now. So I might get maybe like 2 nights a week where she sleeps really, really well. Probably just because she's so dang tired from the previous nights. And then you have other nights where she's up like 4 times a night, 5 times a night. There was a time there where when he was on his business trip, it was like 6 times a night. And I'm like, what are we doing, homegirl? And I praise mothers who are good at working on little sleep or who are good middle of the night mothers. And her patient and gentle middle of the night mothers. I am not. I've never have been. 4 children in. Like I know that I require sleep to function properly. And if my children are up multiple times a night, I'm not very kind. I'm just not. I'm just not kind. And I really try to be, but you know what? I'm not a good nighttime mother. I will admit that. I'm a great daytime mother. Put me in, coach.
Until 4 p.m.
Depending on the day. Nighttime, though, I'm out. So it's been a little rough. And because I'm not sleeping very well and she's not sleeping very well, sleep like obviously affects so much of what we do. And so for me right now, I'm not sleeping and I'm not getting like good solid nights or whatever. I feel overwhelmed in a gazillion and a half areas. So right now in my house, I want to literally get a dumpster and just like throw everything away. like everything. And we're not pack rat people. I'm not a pack. I've changed Noah's ways. He used to be a pack rat.
Well, here's the thing. So
I'm not a pack rat. I forced him to not be a pack
no,
rat.
so here's the situation. So basically, I like to save there's specific things that like I like have saved over the years where I've been able to like build up. Like I know that I'm going to use it again in the future. But basically, what Mary and I agree on is like purging. I would be 100% okay with purging. The irony though to this whole like wanting to purge thing is at the same time she wants to purge everything, she also wants to buy a ton of stuff for Christmas. So like
No, I'm just trying to level us out so it's not all one big dumpster fire in December. I'm trying to do a little bit in October, a little bit in November, a little bit in December. So that way it's not a big dumpster fire. Lack of sleep, feeling chaotic, feeling overwhelmed, want to dump everything away in the house. That's the drought. The harvest, honestly, the harvest is its cool temperatures. I am a Minnesota girl, Midwestern girl. These temperatures I'm living for. We're in 60s this week, guys, in North Carolina. And that's like a dream come true for me. I was telling Noah the other day that people get seasonal depression, sad, if you will, during wintertime. I get it during summertime here between the months of like June through like mid-September. I'm like just depressed and sad because it's too hot. Now I'm thriving. So that's probably my harvest, if you will, is that the temperatures are changing, which is great. So
all right,
that's
so
how we got for that.
all right,
Moving on.
so bringing it all back to the theme. So I think the idea is that the land has rhythms. Some days you're planting, some days you're plowing, some days like you're resting and just watching. And I think with our family, our business, we kind of need the same rhythm. And so I think again, the theme here, like I said a second ago, is that we're starting off with like the land has seasons, and how can you kind of orient your family and thoughts around that?
I'm listening.
All right, so Mary is stepping away, moving the baby. So you will see Mary step on and off camera. This is a real action day today for us. So I guess Mary,
Yes.
should we go from where we're at now, like fall, or should we go kind of spring, summer, fall,
Let's
winter?
start now because it's fresh. Let's start now because it's fresh on our brain because we're currently in the middle of prepping for winter and early spring stuff right now.
Okay.
So should we give like a little rundown of like what we've been working on the last like month or so?
Yeah.
And how like what we've been doing and how we're preparing for winter/spring.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Do you want to start or want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, well, I probably should have you start because you're like the head, the big cheese, if you will. So the biggest thing we've been working on right now, so now that it's October, we officially are done with gardens. I mean, it's a lie. We have a little bit of like peppers left, like, our jalapenos. For the most part, gardens are done. So was it last weekend or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, we ripped out all of the tomatoes and all the dead plants. Noah cut everything down. He weed whacked everything. We kind of got things cleared out on our blueberry bushes. Basically, all of our garden beds were just like flat. And so what we've been working on now lately or the last like day or two, and what we're going to continue to work on over the weekend. I guess the weekend just ended. It's Monday today. But what we're going to continue to work on throughout the week is we are kind of preparing our garden beds for next spring. So what we're doing is we're doing layers of, you have to remind me. So we kind of cut everything down.
Yep.
And then we're going to put cardboard on it.
Yep.
And then chicken manure. Is that correct?
And or hay.
And or hay, depending on however much we have. And then water.
And then wood chips.
And wood chips. And the whole point of that, it's going to compost down all winter. So then by next April, when it's time to plant directly in the ground, which we've learned, no more seed starters. It's taken us 6 years to finally learn that we're not doing seed starters. We're going to direct soap into the ground and we're going to thrive. Okay. That's what we're doing. So basically what we're doing now is doing all these layers on top of our garden beds and creating that really, really, really good dark black compost essentially. Right.
Yep.
And then we can till all that up and stuff. And then
Not till it up.
Well, not now. I mean, like in the spring.
Not in the spring.
Oh, you don't? You just
This is
go
the
right
back
in
to
there?
Eden method, which I've read. Someone else hasn't, obviously.
have
And I
not.
also didn't really clue Mary in. I just said, hey, this is what we're doing. Which is also kind of par for the course. Is like, hey, Saturday, we're going to do this to the garden beds. And Mary's like, cool. And then we do it. And then
Yeah, 9 out of 10 times, I'm like, you tell me what to do. I got you. You don't have to explain it. Just tell me what to do. And like, we'll rock and roll and do it.
yeah, so basically back to
I don't
Eden.
need the science.
Back to Eden method is like a no-till method where you're trying to feed the microbes in the soil over winter. So basically what we're doing with the cardboard is it's like blocking out the roots of the old weeds and or plants. And so those will decompose and turn into some like nice dark loam. And then obviously like the hay and or the chicken manure, same thing. and then the actual wood chips go on top. And so what happens, the wood chip creates a nice barrier over the soil and kind of creates a shield for the microbes down below. And then those turn into nice, thick, rich soil. And then you can direct soil basically into those wood chips,
Mm,
which by next spring will hopefully act as a kind of a mulch weed block.
that's perfect.
But I think in general, like what we're doing this fall, which I think we've done okay at the last several years, but I think this is the first year we've been like established enough where we've been able to, is kind of like that prep for the next year. So it's kind of like that. I think fall is my favorite time of the year for multiple reasons. Like
Mhm.
similar to what Mary said, it's the coolest time of the year. Like it's still warm out, but it's not like freezing, but it's not like you're sweating. And like this summer I had to change my clothes like 3 times a day when I was working
Literally,
outside. So
literally.
love it for that reason. It's also kind of like this is what I do in the evening. It's kind of one of my little things at night, which is like think about like what we've done and then what we need to do next year, or in my case, the next day. And so it's kind of like, how can we set ourselves up for success tomorrow or next spring? And so again, it's like that setting up the gardens. We're mulching the blueberries, like Mary mentioned, mulching the apple trees.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention the apple trees, but yeah, we the
Trees.
apple trees too,
And I
and
think,
pear and peach trees. And all
yeah,
that.
cleaning up all the cleaning up the stuff around the garden, getting like the garden shed all prepped and ready to go.
Making sure the lawn itself is staying mowed, because eventually the next month or so here, the growth is gonna stop.
Yeah.
So we want to keep on top of that, so we don't have like, you know,
So I think
foot
it's
grass to walk through.
like the reason I love fall is this really cool transitional period. It's like if you were to look at it from like a daily perspective, it's like the evening where like
Mm.
you've had a hard day behind you. You can kind of reflect on what you've done, but also on the flip side, you can kind of prepare for the next day. And so that's why I love fall for that reason, as well as the temperatures. Is like I think we're finally getting the last little bits of the fruits of our labor, and then kind of prepping and seeing like, okay, what's worked well, what hasn't, and then how can we do better next year? And so we're kind of really in that stage. And I think you can apply that to a lot of things, like I said, on a day-to-day basis, but how can you every night, like I really have tried my hardest to journal. I can't actually like physically write in a journal, but then I'll still do like a 15-20 minute, like on my phone with my note lists and stuff, kind of what did I do today? What can I do tomorrow? And kind of do it in multiple little ways. But I think you can even just bring that to, like prayer, like too, like
Yeah.
how was I a good husband, father, and just man, or woman, and then how can I do that a little bit better tomorrow? So I think there's ways, again, that transitional period is really, really powerful, where you can reflect on what you've done and what the successes, but also the failures, and then look forward to like, how can I do a little bit better next time?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons that fall, I think, is really, really solid.
Yeah, I think so. And I think too, now this is going to be our third fall here. We're going into our third fall.
Yes.
Almost 2 years we've been here, so almost third fall. And we've had now 2 years under our belt where we've learned what things have gone well, like what did we not prepare enough for, what did we over prepare for, things like that. And like we're learning also like certain things take a certain amount of time, short or long. So another thing that Noah has been working on, it's not me, it's Noah, is we have this desire to have a couple cows from the back of our property. Now that's not like a quick, oh, in 6 months we'll have cows. Like I think at first we thought, oh, like next spring, like 6 months from now, we'll have cows. And that's like the biggest joke, because that's not how that works. Cows literally need pasture to eat. Like it doesn't just happen overnight or in 6 months. So Noah has been working really hard on like preparing the pasture, or like plowing the fields and things like that, brush hogging the fields. So now down here in North Carolina, we're about to enter wet season. We don't really get much snow, but we get a lot of rain and cold and mud and that kind of stuff. Well, you really can't run a tractor through all of that. So on top of doing all the garden stuff, Noah is also going to start this week, I think the plan was, to
Yep.
fix the brush hog, of getting our field plowed. And we don't have pigs anymore. We'll tell you about that in a little bit. But we do not have pigs anymore until springtime. And so we're going to take down the pig pen. So just have a big open field so Noah can start doing passes on the brush hog or on the tractor, which again, in hopes that maybe by next summer's fall, maybe a year from now, we'll have cows. But again, even that's so up in the air. It's so dependent on like the weather and the seasons, and like, were we diligent enough in getting out there on the tractor? Like what other things kind of took priorities? That's another thing that he's going to be doing this fall before the wet season hits, probably in December?
Yeah,
Give
like
or take.
end of December. So like
Yeah.
I think too, like that's another thing that I think seasons made a lot of sense for this episode, because I think there's other things like where you kind of want to try to force the position that you've had. And so I think things like seasons. So like for example, planting the fields. If it were me last spring, wanted to go just like all in and kind of knock it all out, finish it all. The problem is then like it's like March through June is extremely wet in North Carolina, and then June through like September is extremely dry. And so the problem is like both those are bad bad conditions to plow the field. And so I think it's very seasonally driven. And I think too, like that's a kind of a cool reflection too, like on life. So like there's only a certain period of time where like this is the time that I can plow the field that it's going to be the best, where it's like it's not too wet, not too dry. It's going to help be it's going to basically I'm not going to pull up too much dirt, but not pull up too little. And so I think kind of in life too, similarly, like there's certain seasons, like I feel like there's things that we've talked about, like, oh, I wish we could do this. And it's like, Joe just can't do it because we have,
A season of life right now. Yeah.
like even like the podcast, like recording them every month. Like we were talking when we're talking about doing this. We're like, hey, maybe we can do it
Every
like,
2 weeks or
or
every
even
week.
every week. And we're like,
No,
not going to happen. So,
we wish, but in this season, it's not
so,
the case.
so again, but it's like, it's kind of accepting that certain things are meant for certain times. And I think that's another thing, again, that the whole idea of the theme of the seasons, that's where that's important as well, where you're able to see that, okay, different times of the year or different times of your life, there's different things that you can do and different things you can't do. And how do you take the most advantage out of that while you have that time, but also how can you be content in that? And so I think that's another thing that we have to kind of figure
and
out.
not force things, I think, too. That's the big thing. So I guess can I go off of that about something we're doing in the homestead,
Sure.
going with what you said? So being content with where you're at and not forcing things just because you want to do it all. So the pigs, for example, we went back and forth for the longest time. I think we've been contemplating Sherman and Dorothy are born our sow probably since the beginning of the year. So like we're going on like 9-10 months. We've been contemplating. Dorothy has now had, well, she's gone now, but she had 2 failed litters, 2 large litters, like 10 babies, 11 babies. None of them made it. So usually you give a sow. The whole thing with like, breeding like a breeding sow is you do, their lifespan is probably going to be 4 to 5 years. If their sole thing is to breed and to have babies, 4 to 5 years and or 9 to 10 litters ish. And then if they've had like 2 to 3 failed litters, then she's done.
Yeah.
And so she had a failed litter this last summer.
It was like April or May.
April or May, she had a failed litter, which was really unfortunate. We thought, okay, it could have been a fluke, which it could have been a fluke. So we gave her another round. I think she got pregnant after 1 month or whatever.
End of July. Yeah.
End of July. Had a second failed litter, basically. We don't really know what happened. If it was miscarriage. I mean, it was a miscarriage at the end of the day.
And
She was
ironically,
so late, but like delivery was like a week and a half past due. And ended up miscarrying.
Which that's so total. This is a derail it a little bit, but like between ChatGPT and Facebook groups for like, hey, like, cause we've not like had breeding pigs before the last year and a half. So like we were like completely in the dark. And so we're like the amount of pictures of like her teats and her
back end
that I have on my phone. Like I just went through and deleted them all on the plane because I had nothing else to do on the plane.
Okay, I'm glad people saw that. They saw pig's rear end.
But I took so many, there was dozens of pictures, like sole aside, because I took them like,
what is this discharge coming out of my sow? Like that's like things that we would Google and like ask like pig groups on Facebook, and oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. Because we're newer to it. We've done it for 2 years now, right? So the pigs. So long story short, we ended up deciding after the 2 failed litters, okay, it's time. Unfortunately, it's time to be done with the Dorothy. And if Dorothy's gonna go, we may as well get rid of Sherman because Homeboy was like 900 pounds. He was huge and so expensive to feed. So then we thought, okay, that's fine. We'll get rid of them. We'll give Sherman away. We'll process Dorothy. Unfortunately, just comes sad, but we'll process Dorothy. And then we'll get feeder pigs, and we'll buy like 8 to 10 feeder pigs from a local farm, and we'll raise them and da 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 da. Well, then we thought to ourselves, okay, that's so silly. If we buy feeder pigs, we're going to be feeding them through the winter. Pigs already eat a lot more through the winter because they want to stay warm. Well, it's like, well, economically, does that even make sense? I mean, yes, we're going to need pork in the next probably 2 months or so, right? But it's also like, does it really make sense to pay for all of that feed, do all of that work when it's wet, when it's soppy, when it's going to cost at maybe not quite double, but almost double the amount to feed all of these pigs throughout the winter? So the amount of times we have gone back and forth in the decision of like, we really, really, really want pigs, but like, yeah, but is it the right time? Is it seasonally, is it right? Economically, is it right? And we ended up deciding, you know what, we're going to take a break on pigs until springtime, right? Because we love pigs. We love raising pigs. We think it's so good for our family, for the families that we feed. We absolutely love it. But yeah, this is kind of a classic example of the amount of times we've gone back and forth of like, we want this, we want it now, but also it's not our time. And just like how there's things in life, like Noah was saying, like there's a season for everything, and it's okay to be where you're at and where your feet are and be content with what you have. So, for that reason, we're focusing on the business side of things this winter. And we're going to keep doing things like that moving into wintertime.
Yeah, and I think too, like the idea was like as we move into the winter like theme kind of thing. There's a time for rest in everything. So like
Mhm.
again, like this, I think was something that I'm still kind of struggling with as someone who like it is very productivity focused. So like for example, on Sundays,
Mhm.
day of rest, and so like how can you actually treat that as a day of rest? Similarly, God gave us the winter as kind of a resting season where we need to be able to kind of take time to, again, rest your bodies. Like you don't need to be outside. The days are shorter, the days are colder. There's not much kind of growing outside. And so it's kind of a time to rest, but also kind of time to think, reflect, plan, and that kind of thing as well. So like, for example, like with the business, like we're kind of reevaluating, okay, what are we kind of turning Fidelis Terra into business wise? What are we going to be able to do there? What are we, and then also is the kind of the planning stage. So like, okay, what vegetables are we going to be planting next year?
Mhm.
What are like, are we doing when we're doing pigs? What are we doing? Are we going to do meat chickens next year? What does the cow situation look like realistically? And kind of again looking at that side of things a little bit more and kind of
Financially planning as well.
yeah,
I'm
so
sure.
it's a time of giving the land a rest, it's time of giving our bodies a rest, but it's a time of thinking also like, okay, how do we kind of again take what we've learned and kind of that preliminary planning we've gotten from the fall and the end of fall and kind of move into the new year with something solid.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after winter comes spring and summer. So um spring is another summer's kind of tough for me, but spring is still good because we have, like Noah was saying, in the wintertime we're gonna plan out all of our gardens and all that kind of stuff. Moving into spring, there's like a sense of renewal, right? There's a sense of like, I don't know, it's like fresh. It's fresh, it's new, it's all these fun. It seems like new life is constantly happening around the homestead. So with that new life, whether it be with gardens, whether it be with trees, whether it be with animals, things like that. So I think like we'd already kind of mentioned, obviously we're gonna be planting on our gardens again. This year we did a lot of planning going into the gardens this year. But there's some things that I'm like, okay, our cucumbers, think about it. We love cucumbers, but like we don't really eat pickles. So I'm not going to be doing a gazillion cucumbers like I did last year. I'm going to do maybe one cucumber or two cucumber, kind of things like that. So we're going to be able to purchase our seeds from certain places that we have liked to use in the past. We're going to be talking about pigs again and meat chickens. We're going to do both. And now that we've done pigs for a few years and done our own research, we know that we really prefer a heritage breed. And so there's local farmers in our area that will sell these they're called wiener pigs, which is kind of funny. They're like wiener pigs or what are they called?
Feeder pig.
Feeder pigs. Thank you. So we're gonna be able to plan out that and like talk to people like, hey, who's interested in pigs? How many can we raise for you? Things like that. But then also making sure like the proper, like we have everything ready to go, the fencing, the food situation, all of that kind of stuff. So it's a time to bring out new life to our property in all of those ways.
Yeah, no, I think too, like again, like I don't know why I keep like I'm the one who does a lot of the actual infrastructure side,
Mhm.
outside of the building, but I keep trying to bring it back to like the faith and personnel side or
Mhm.
personality side. But I think too, like when you think of things like like how can you use the spirit of renewal in your faith? Like I think we were just talking. I was talking to someone who's a recent convert, and like, again, like I'm kind of jealous because like again that kind of seems like it's you have that spirit of renewal, and how can you kind of take something that sometimes feels a little bit mundane, like because you've done it so many times over and over again, like again being a Christian, how can you again continually have that spirit of renewal? So I think too, like spring in and of itself, kind of helps you to do that, like with the land, but also I think it's a good time too to like refocus, on things like your faith. And I think too, like, it's almost like how can you make a new spring every day when it
Mhm.
comes to your faith in your life? Like, how can you get re-excited about things that you're working on or, and during winter, how can you like shed things that you don't want to do? And so I think
Mhm.
that there's kind of that spiritual element, to it as well. But I think there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of kind of prep work like that goes into it. But I think you can only have a really good spring when you have a really good winter.
Yeah.
And one needs the other, which I think is important.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
And then summer. Summer is
Summer is my least favorite. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually despise summer around here. I only enjoy summer in the evenings after the sun is starting to go down and it's only 85 degrees instead of 95 degrees.
yeah, but I think that summer like
Although I do like okay, maybe I shouldn't be so negative. What I do enjoy about summer is when all of this work that we put in is coming to fruition and Noah comes in with the kids with bowls full of peppers and onions and tomatoes to know that I can prep that and can that for preparing for fall. So things like that, I do love that. I love seeing him outside with the kids working on pig chores or chicken chores or like in the yard. There is something nice about that as well. It's just there's a good, like, okay, we're in the midst of our hard work right now. And it feels really good to take a shower after a long day of just being super sweaty and working outside. It does feel really good.
Well, I think like the daylight too, like it's just like it's the longest days of the year. And like, again, there's something to be grateful about that. Like, I think that's one of the parts I hate about fall and in winter is that like it gets like, especially like when I worked a full-time job and then come back to this where
Mhm.
it's dark out when I leave, it's dark out when I come home. I can't spend out any time outside. Like that's where I get the seasonal, the SADs or whatever, the affective disorder is because like I'm like, it can't be outside ever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of limited to a certain like a Saturday or Sunday. That said, though, like if it could be this temperature all year round,
Mhm.
different story because that would just be amazing. 'Cause I guess the downside of summer is late is like in the south, the humidity is really high. It's like
Yeah.
mid
Everything's
time.
dry. It's crunchy outside, like, but like not leaf crunchy, like grass is crunchy, like it could light up a big fire if you're not careful, kind of crunchy.
Yeah,
It's not great.
yeah. So I think there's definitely something to be said about that too. But there is like so much like the heat and like I don't know, they're just busy and there's fun stuff to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoy summer a lot. I think there's a lot to be grateful for. Obviously, you can see that we're in fall and then we both love fall, so we're obviously kind of biased towards
Very
that.
biased. Yeah.
But I think again, like when Mary said, the benefits is you're constantly be able to be outside. The days are longer. There's just a lot of like
Kids are happy. They're outside in sunshine all the time.
yeah, there's water. Like it's hard to like kids want to play on the water table now. Like you gotta wait till like late afternoon because right now it's 60 degrees and you can see your breath, or not 60 degrees. But in the morning it's 40 degrees. You can see your breath,
Yeah.
and so you can't do that. But anyway, long story short, I think there's a lot of things to be grateful about summer. But closing this out, I think the idea is okay. Every season has a purpose, both physically
Mhm.
and spiritually. So I think again, God has given us the physical seasons to show us that there's a time and place for everything. There's different times that you need to rest. There's different times that you can be busy. There's times that you can kind of be excited. Times to kind of reflect on what's been done. And I guess how can you kind of turn that into your life? Whether it be again like watching the land, but also like thinking about what season are you in? Are you planting? Are you harvesting? Are you just having a rest? What is it that God might be doing that in your season of life that you might not be seeing right now? So I think there's a lot of things you kind of take away from that. Obviously, there's the fun part of the homestead where like again, there's things that you're doing act like physically outside, but then kind of thinking about that in the day to day life.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are going to leave you with that for this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, rate, review, comment, right?
Yes.
All the things, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And we will see you hopefully in the next couple weeks for the next episode.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you later.
Thanks for joining us today. You can follow along or subscribe at fidelisterrafarm.com.